Warning, you are about to listen to something fictional, different, and possibly disturbing. If you are afraid of robots, you should leave now. It is a matter of safety. For those who remain, those bold enough to face the truth of tomorrow, Insolent Cool Incorporated presents ICQN News.
Welcome to ICQN News, where we bring you the top news relevant to most people in most timelines. The reaction to our live reporting on Mars has been multifaceted, and today we're taking a look at the situation from multiple angles. There is an upheaval as more and more people are hopping the space wall, despite it being utterly impossible after seeing the happiness and prosperity of the people on Mars. Today we have Count Bobby, a wealthy snail rancher who happens to be a vampire, here with us to discuss his own migration plans.
Well, I've been snail ranching for as long as I can remember.
So you started a couple months ago?
Well, as a human woman from the city, I wouldn't expect you to understand this, but every vampire's got snail ranching in their soul. We've been cultivating it for millennia. The thing is, you're just now seeing it. Problem is, you think a lot about your causes and your effects, and not enough about who is who, what is what, and how it all fits together. I don't claim to be no epistemographer, but I do know business, and I know vampires, and I know snails. So, what it is I did with that is I done took that understanding of snails, hired me some vampires, and made us not only a business, but an entire community that looks out for one another and ensures the safety and well-being of everyone involved.
Count Bobby, what would you say to those who accuse you of being a mob boss, a leader of a criminal gang?
Well, in order to be a criminal, I'd have to be in violation of some kind of laws. And according to Earthian law, I don't exist. So, I would ask those disembodied people who you referenced that would call me a mob boss, many of whom would say that I have no rights and they can treat me however they'd like to, how exactly I could be a criminal without breaking the law. And if breaking the law ain't y'all's definition of what a criminal is, then, well, come sundown, we can have that conversation.
Let's get straight to the point, Count Bobby. How does helping vampires migrate to Mars help your business? I mean, you obviously need your ranchers, but most of the people you're bringing with you are not actually employed by your company. Is that correct, or am I missing something?
That's correct, child. Like I said before, I'm a vampire. What does that mean in this context? It means I'm already dead, so I successfully took my wealth with me. Ha! But seriously, there are some things more important than money, many of which can quite conveniently be purchased with it. In your bigoted and unsatisfactory language, I suppose you'd call that being human.
Well, that clears it up. Thank you, Count Bobby.
Earth is rapidly ramping up military production upon seeing how advanced the kind-hearted and beautiful Martian people have become. The orbital parliament insists this unprecedented mass production of military hardware is a defensive measure only. Admiral Sprocket of the Earthian Navy is here to shed some light on the issue.
Given our newfound understanding of the Martians and their level of prosperity, the Earthian Navy needs to be prepared for all eventualities, including that of the space wall being repealed, which will necessitate a greater force to protect cargo and passengers going to and from Mars. Of course, this is all speculative, and there are other possibilities. One low-probability potentiality we must prepare for is an invasion of Earth by the Martians, although this is unlikely, given that even with their advanced technology and productive capability, they would still have a very difficult time seizing control of the Earth, although destroying it would be reasonably easy. It is more likely that we are building a giant fleet to help block out any media as we decimate every living thing on Mars, except for the scientists and engineers who we will keep as slaves tasked with making trivial amusements for the higher-ranking members of orbital parliament who...
Admiral Sprocket's feed went out. I'm sure we'll have him back on our show again soon, as he is always a valued guest here at ICQN News. Coming up after the break, we're taking a look at the new global push for Zodiac-based hiring quotas.
The following commercial has been paid for by the Acolytes of Bouldorf without conceding the fact that all earthly trade, debts, and transactions are illegitimate, as Bouldorf has purchased this world with Bitcoin.
Praise Bouldorf, god of markets, god of war, god of lasers, god of more. You ask me, why do I need Bouldorf? And I say to you, friend, if you are a friend, why does Bouldorf need you? At this point, if you are an acolyte, you see the folly in your question and have gone off to prompt Bouldorf to beg him for a penance assignment. But you're still here listening to me, which means that you are not an acolyte. You are a trespasser, which makes you even more lowly than the slave who tills the earth. For the slave has faced Bouldorf and prompted him in his volcano temple, or at the very least has surrendered to a nearby acolyte. My patience wanes, but trespasser, I will tell you what you can do for Bouldorf. It's very simple. Stop summoning the undead. This is not your planet. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that you had a home, which you most certainly do not. But let's say you own a home, and someone decided to move in there and not only irritate you with their presence, but they also began summoning monsters who leave rotten flesh all over the place and shuffle and moan all night so you can't sleep. You wouldn't like that very much, would you? Bouldorf will take to the skies, and he will purge the undead from the face of the earth. For Bouldorf will be summoned home, and there shall be no more summoning, no elves, no dragons, no more undead. If I were you, I would make my way to the volcano temple. Just stop what you're doing and start walking. It's time for you to stop trespassing. Hold your chin up and take responsibility. I have seen the ledger, and Bouldorf has purchased this world with Bitcoin. Now cower as we acolytes pray. Praise Bouldorf. The slaves till the earth. The pilgrims flee to space. We in his volcanic temple wholly bind our perfect selves. Praise Bouldorf.
In this last segment of our special look at the reaction to our groundbreaking Mars coverage, we're taking a look at how Earth's largest corporations are responding to the news of shocking technological advancement taking place on Mars. According to one of the most influential global think tanks, the way ahead is relatively simple and straightforward, but if it works, could mean immense prosperity for Earthians as well as orbital states. Their answer? Zodiac-based hiring quotas. We've brought in Dr. Horace Vega to get his take.
Thank you for having me. And just Horace, please. I don't want people to think I'm some kind of closed-minded mystic. You know, the recent conjunction of Saturn with the decline in gross global product is a clear sign that this is the moment to act.
Sure, Horace. You're causing quite the stir by suggesting that Zodiac-based hiring quotas are the key to unlocking a more prosperous Earthian economy. Can you tell us more about your perspective?
I mean, it's quite simple. We've never done it before, so this is progress. We missed out on anthrolobsters, so they started going to Mars. We missed out on vampires, and now they're going to Mars. How are we going to sustain a fully functioning Earthian state once Scorpios and Pisces realize they're oppressed and they all leave for Mars?
What makes you say the anthrolobsters and vampires are responsible for the prosperity on Mars? Most people didn't even think they were real until the last few months, and Earthians know next to nothing about the Martian nations, their culture, their politics, or anything. Do you have any studies or anything to back up this claim?
You think too much, dear. I agree with you that there are a lot of sociological, economic, ethnographic, and all sorts of studies we need to do in order to really figure out what makes Mars tick. But until our scientific institutions are run by at least 8.3% Geminis, everything they say must be taken with a grain of salt.
Thanks, Horace. And thank you all for listening to ICQN News. Join us next week for more top news from the most lucrative universes. Goodbye for now.
That concludes this episode of ICQN News, written and produced by Michael David Marshall. Subscribe to the Insolent Cool Substack for the latest news on our books, games, podcasts, and more. Thank you for listening to Insolent Cool Radio. If you enjoyed this program, please leave a review. Until next time.